All right, ready when you are.
Okay. Okay, good evening. Welcome to the March meeting of the Zoning Board of Appeals. And this evening, we have 4 applications that we will be going through. So when you hear your application called, then please join the call and announce yourself, your name and your address, and then we can go ahead and present your application. Once we finish all 4 of the applications, then we will deliberate them in the order that they go. You can certainly stay on the call and listen until the deliberations. If you decide not to, then you would call Rick DiStefano in the building office tomorrow and he can let you know what happened with your application. Okay, Rick, at this point, can you call the roll?
Excuse me, Dennis, we really can't see you.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
There we go. Is that better?
No, not even your full eye yet. No.
No, I don't know.
All right.
Can you push your camera down a little bit?
Yeah.
There
you go.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
All right, the roll. Mr. Primo,
Here.
Ms. Schwartz,
Here.
Ms. Tompkins Wright, Ms. Tompkins Wright,
Here, sorry.
Ms. Dale,
Here.
Mr. Mites,
Here.
Ms. Watson,
Here.
Ms. Schmidt.
Here.
Please let the record show that all members are present.
Okay. Do you have anything, Rick, that you want to let the board members know about any of the applications?
I don't, unless any of the board members have any questions.
Okay. There being none, then why don't you proceed with the first application?
Just for the record, we will not be approving the January 6, 2021 meeting minutes. We will hold those off to the February meeting, to the April meeting. So applications 12A0520 and 12A0620 have adjourned once again. So we are on application 2A0221, application of lot RV, owner of property located at 2601 Lockville Boulevard for an area variance in section 205-12 to allow for the reuse from a professional office building to a medical office building with 45 parking spaces in lieu of the minimum 57 parking spaces required by code. I'll describe an application and plans on file. This application was tabled from the February 3rd, 2021 meeting.
Okey-doke.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Joe Ardietta of Vanguard Engineering tonight, representing the applicant. And with us tonight is the owner, Sinu Kaza. And also with us is Chuck Armbruster of Hamilton Stern, the general contractor. You should have my letter dated February 16th, responding to the questions that you had posted after the previous meeting. In summary, let's just say this is 2601 Lockville application.
Okay. Joe, do you want to go ahead and walk through the responses, maybe tie to the floor plan? Because I think that's where a lot of the questions were.
Okay, so there's 2 floors. The lower floor, although there is a floor plan there, that is subject to change. There were tenants scheduled to go there, but they pulled out. So right now there are no scheduled tenants for the lower floor. That floor plan is subject to change. Therefore, when we assigned or calculated the demand for parking, we assigned all of that as medical, which is your most restrictive. And that's 1 space per 150 square feet. So the whole lower floor is assigned to medical use. And they came up with, I believe it was 27 spaces.
Okay.
The first floor is the floor that has been determined. That floor will be used by the owner and his wife in 2 suites. And their demand at peak is 13 spaces. So if you combine the 27, the 13, that's an actual demand of 40. And the site has 45 spaces. And that's really it in a nutshell.
I think one of the questions was, again, how that load was calculated for that floor. So if you have the owner available, then maybe he could walk us through what goes on this, in this floor plan and how that ties to the parking calculation that you guys made.
Sino, are you there?
Yes, I'm here. I hope everyone can hear me okay.
Yes, sure.
Great. And just wanted to thank everyone for the time and allowing me to be on. So
Sir, could you just give us your address too for the record, please?
so Sinu Kaza, and do you want my residential address
Yeah,
or the
either
property
one.
address?
It doesn't matter.
Well, I'll give you the 2601 Lochteville
That's fine.
Boulevard property owner.
Okay,
And just a quick sidebar, I noticed in the zoning agenda that it has the name of the property owner as Lot Bar V. I'm assuming that was an auto correct text or voice recognition that went haywire. The owner entity is Lakeside LDV Properties LLC.
okay, we can get that
Yeah,
corrected.
just for the record, that is what appeared on the application.
Yeah, actually, yes, actually, we put that on the application because our surveyor had it as the owner.
Oh,
Oh, okay. All right. Well,
that's how I got it. Okay, we can
Yeah.
get that correct. That's no problem.
that'll be great. It does sound a lot like Lakeside LDV if you say it quickly.
Okay,
So let's see, I'm going to get my north, south, east, west wrong. So I'm just going to say the right half of the blueprints here. So suite 1A, that is my practice. So I'm an ENT surgeon. And for office setup, that would be fairly traditional with the exam rooms as you see there. At peak, even before COVID and now more so than ever, 4 patients an hour tops. And so for really in 7-8 hour day, 4 patients an hour, we just can't have any more throughput than 1 patient every 15 minutes. So that's our standard flow. So coming into the lobby in that main reception, that is for my practice. The large waiting room at the rear of the building is for my practice. The suite 1B, which says audiologist, that really is also part of my practice. So when my patients have to come in and have a hearing test done, they'll come in there. And as our project evolved, what we really had to do was, and I guess Joe, you have the mouse there, but the back door entrance to the audiology suite that interfaces with my wife's practice. So that's door, I can't even read it, but so Joe, if you
I
walk into where
I don't have control of the.
We have control of it.
Oh, okay.
Jeff,
Yeah.
right there, Jeff.
yeah,
right-
that's it. So
Just go
so
across
right
the
there.
hallway right there.
So
Okay.
those back 2 consult rooms. So let's say consult meeting room 133 and then consult office 134. That's actually going to be for my audiologist. And we had determined that the audiologist needs an office space to just do admin, and B, for any of our patients who have hearing testing that need to be consulted for hearing aids or fitted or anything like that, we don't want them to walk all the way across the lobby to the ENT side for that. So we actually created that door so those patients could use that space. So it does create a little bit of a blurring of the lines, if you will, between my practice and my workflow and really using those 2 rooms that we just mentioned that are on Leslie's side. So maybe we can just come back to that. So if we go back to the lobby, my wife's practice, which says suite number 2, James, at the bottom of the screen, right there. So her background is, it's not traditional internal medicine or primary care or family medicine. She really has a consulting model. So she has patients that come from far and wide. She does some remote consultations with people out of state and even in other parts of the world. But it's really 1 to 2 hour consultations. So essentially a new patient gets about 2 hours, sometimes 2.5 hours with her. Intensive one-on-one time, lots of intake, lots of talking. Today she had, in her current place that she's renting, she had 2 patients. A busy day for her is 4 patients for an entire day. So, she's not a traditional primary care practice model at all. So really the reception area, she has one receptionist that works with her. The waiting area is what you see. There will be some products and books and library on the wall. The office room, that's room number 138 right there, that's where she will meet with patients. And then the room adjacent to that, the consult 136, is where she would do the exam. So she has a pretty tight triangle from where the patients have their intake, have some vital signs, see her to talk for the 2 hours and do a brief exam. So that is why we're coming way under what might seem typical for medical practice. It is a medical practice, but it really probably functions more like, I don't know, like a psychologist or someone that does more intensive one-on-one time. So that's kind of my maybe long-winded nutshell.
Okay, well, that certainly addresses the questions. Okay. Is there anything else, Joe, that you guys wanted to point out, or we can open it up for some questions from the board members?
I just want to iterate from the previous meeting that if we are required to meet code and put in the 57 spaces, that we would have to actually violate the ordinance whereby we would have to place parking within the setbacks of the property lines. So we either attempt to get a variance for this, or we'll have to go to attempt to get a variance for that. Either way, we need a variance.
Okay. Could you put that up, Rick, for a minute, or Jeff? The floor plan? Yeah. Do you want to, Joe, show us where the other parking would have to go, please?
Rick, do you have that plan we sent that showed what it would look like if we?
I think it's under the, this is the new stuff that you sent over.
Yeah, no, it was in the original package.
Yeah, I'm not sure if it's.
Okay, so, all right. Oh, actually, if you look, actually, it's still there. If you look at, zoom in, please. You can see the dashed lines, like up towards the top. There's,
Oh, yeah, okay. Mhm.
that's where we'd have to put parking. There's also parking over on the left side,
Oh, I see. Where those two big trees are?
where the two
Yeah,
trees are. Those
right
trees
there.
would have to come out. We'd have to put parking there. And then down in the southeast corner at the end of the parking lot, we'd have to put 2 spaces there and restripe the parking lot in order. Oh, also the little triangle where the bend is, we'd have to put it, we'd have to pave that as well. And that would be to meet the required code. So what happens at the southeast corner along the west property line and up at the north property line, we would require variances for that encroachment into the setback with pavement.
Okay. Okay. All right. So board members, questions about this new information on this application?
Yeah, this is member Wright. I just had a question. The description of these services provided, these medical practices, I'm assuming this is one physician in each group, you and your wife. Is this the type of practice that could expand to additional physicians? And what does that do to the parking count if it does?
So I'll jump in on that. So we have multiple practice locations. Our kind of flagship, our main office is in Canandaigua, much bigger building, much bigger square footage. We do have multiple providers there. This setup, just because we had such a tight space to work in, can really only be for one provider. I mean, it's going to be me or one of my partners. There's just not space to expand. I mean, the lower level is there, but really the goal was to bring in outside tenants. Unfortunately, we don't have them right now. So I guess the expansion would really be the lower level tenants, and then we address what that tenant or tenants might be and what their parking requires. But for the upper level, that throughput is a throughput. You saw the space that we have there. As far as the exam rooms, I have a scribe, so the scribe really just kind of follows me around into the visits. They're just not able, we're not able to have multiple patients. I can't be in 2 places at once. And then with the 3 other office locations, with the physicians we have, it's just not possible to have more than one physician in this location.
And what's the, and I apologize if this was covered at the last meeting, I just can't recall. What's the typical staff for one physician at this location? What would you anticipate the typical, one physician and how many other staff members?
Yeah, that might have been in some of the stuff that came through. I wasn't on that last meeting, but essentially the plan is we have 1 to 2 receptionists. I have me or a physician and a scribe. So that's 4 people. And again, it's just our manpower. We're stretched out. We don't want to increase the personnel costs. So it's going to be a lean, sort of tightly run ship.
Okay, thank you. Other questions by the board members?
I have one question.
Go ahead.
Dennis.
Yeah, go ahead.
Dr. Kaza, I know this is kind of a crystal ball question. On that lower level, what are you looking for to put in there? Are you open to any type of medical use going in there, or are you going to have some parameters that would limit the type of use you would allow to go into that lower level?
Yeah, that is a crystal ball question. I mean, I think my perfect dream tenant would be, first of all, 1 tenant. So I have 1 tenant to deal with taking the entire space. The other maybe dream sort of crystal ball is something that would be complementary to what I do. So for example, the physical therapist group that had walked away, that was actually not a physical therapy group per se. They actually specialized in balance therapy, so vestibular, so specifically to help with balance problems, and that's a population of patients that we take care of. So I guess in the order of hierarchy, we would want services that complemented or helped the services that we provide. Leslie's practice would have some need for physical therapy, and the chiropractor was another potential tenant that had walked away, unfortunately, based on some of the timeline constraints. But I guess I would not be open to something that competed, I suppose. So I wouldn't sublet to another ENT. But yeah, beyond that, I guess I just don't know. I mean, I think even a non-medical tenant or a non-traditional tenant would be acceptable too.
I guess that's kind of going on that. Would you be open to, a professional office use on the lower level, non-medical, or no?
Yeah, that's exactly right. I mean, I think, right, if we went to a non-medical, like let's say, I don't know, a CPA, really wanted to be right on Lacteville there, and they needed low rent space in a lower level. I mean, I think we would be open to that. I mean, it was USA payroll before we purchased the property, so it was an office professional building, and that would save us a huge amount of money on the build out of the lower level. So yeah, that would be on the list too. So I guess if it had to be medical, preferably medical that complemented and provided some synergy, sort of a center of care where a patient could come and get a lot of services together. We would not want to do, for example, a phlebotomy or a lab draw in this location. That's not a good fit for the type of foot traffic that we would want coming in.
Thank you.
Okay, any other questions by the board members? Okay, thank you very much, gentlemen, for your
Thank you.
additional information and explanation.
Have a good evening.
Thank you. Is there anyone in the Zoom call that would like to speak regarding this application? Okay, there being none, then the public hearing is closed.
Application 3A0121, application of Robert Duca, owner of property located at 537 Grosvenor Road, for an area variance from sections 203-2.1B3 and 203-984, allow detached garage to be 960 square feet in size and move the maximum 600 square feet allowed by code. Also described in an application and plans on file.
Okay, who do we have speaking for this application?
Good evening, it's Robert Duca.
Good evening, Mr. Duca.
How are
What
you?
is your address, sir?
I'm at 537 Grosvenor Road.
Okay, proceed, please.
I I have a detached garage now. It's a single car. And I'm looking to expand that to a multi-car garage. That would be 24 by 40. So it would really looking to request an additional 360 square feet from the 600 that's allowed on a detached. It would be 2-car wide, and it would be have an additional 2-car deep. It's somewhat of a unique situation where it's located. You can see it's in the back right-hand corner. There's privacy fences on both sides. I have a school, elementary school on the left side with a privacy fence. My neighbor to the right is completely supportive and has provided a letter of support for me as well. And from the street, you wouldn't know that there was an additional 2 bays that went back. It would look like a traditional 4-car or 2-car with a pitch that would be commensurate with the house, which is important to me, that it remains visually correct with the addition.
Okay. Could you give us the general purpose for this, we'll call it oversized garage?
Well, it's strictly for storage. There's not going to be any repair work. There's no water. There's no drain. I have some collector cars that I own that I like to keep with me through the summer, and now I do store them for the winter months, and I'd like to have them in one contained spot. And again, strictly for storage. There might be a room for a workbench, but that workbench would be used for some other purposes, not for auto repair. I can tinker inside of a car, but I don't do any mechanical repair.
Okay,
So storage only.
okay, very good. All right, is there anything else you'd like to add?
No, I think, from a lot size coverage, it's well under the requirements. What's again most important to me is that it maintains visually the same look of the house.
All right. Okay, so questions by the board members then, thanks.
Member Wright, are there other oversized garages in that neighborhood that you know of?
There's one other garage that's down the street. It looks large to me. I don't know much about it. I knocked on the door, but I didn't get an answer. I didn't know if they were home. But other than that, I didn't see anything that looked any deeper than what I'm looking for. Yeah, so not that I could see. But one of that one other one looked a little larger than 600 to me.
Okay,
Is there, are you done? I didn't mean to cut in.
go ahead.
Is there any other use for that garage beyond the storage of your collector cars?
No. Well, I might do I buy guitars and bicycles and do restoration work. Right now I do them in my basement. I would probably do a little of that there, and then I donate them to church or to friends and family that need such things. And but yeah, no, the answer would be nothing other than maybe a little bit of that kind of work out there.
Okay,
And only during the summer.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, of course.
okay. Other questions by the board members? All set? Okay, very good. Thank you, Mr. Duca.
Thank you very much.
Okay, so at this point, is there anyone on the Zoom call that would like to speak regarding this application? Okay, there being none, then the public hearing is closed.
Thank you.
Yes, thanks.
Application 3A0221, application of Mary Kokinda and Annalisa Ionon, owner of the property located at 34 Cardiff Park, for an area variance in section 207-11D to allow an above-ground swimming pool to be 1 foot from the rear lot line in lieu of the minimum 10 feet required by code. Also have an application and plans on file.
Okay. Who do we have for this application?
Good evening, everyone. I'm Mary Kokinda.
Okay.
Thank you for having me tonight. So basically, we
Excuse me,
live,
Mary, can you just give us your address for the record, please?
yes, I live at 34 Cardiff Park.
Okay, great. Go right ahead.
My block is only about 6 houses long. We're a very tiny little neighborhood tucked away here, and our backyards back up to train property. The fence line is what everyone really treats as the end of their property. The fences have been up there for decades, but there is an easement of 14 feet. And that space is something that we didn't, I guess, realize would change the location of our pool. We're really simply looking to put up a very standard above ground pool. It's not a temporary, it's not a permanent structure. And it's one of the smaller ones. It's only 18 feet across in diameter. Our yards are very small. So basically where we have it on the plans here is almost the only place it could go. We can't move it towards the, the left side of the picture here, I'll say, because it would be under the power line that runs from the back of our property to our home. And if we move it to the right, we literally break the 10-foot code on that side of the yard. And if we move it any closer to the house, if we actually measure starting from our true property line, 14 feet in from our fence, if we measure another 10 feet in, and then we have exactly 18 feet from that point to the side of our home. So the pool would literally be touching the side of our home. So we're just requesting this variance so that we can use, only go 1 foot from our property line instead of the whole 10 feet, so that we have, at least about 9 feet between our home and the side of the pool. This is really our only option, as you can see, because of all of the other, specific little things happening around the yard. The pool won't be visible from the front of the home or the street because of the size of my house. And we do have 6-foot privacy fencing all the way around the yard also. So that's also not an issue for safety or for the way it would look. Nobody would be able to see it anyway. So that's basically what we're asking for.
Okay, very good. Okay, board members, questions for
Yeah,
Mary?
hi, this is Ed Primo. Just so I'm understanding, Rick, feel free to jump in if you can. So it's really, the variance is only for the rear lot line, not for the sides.
Exactly.
And Rick, did I get that right? Is that
Yes.
right?
Yes, that is correct.
Okay.
I mean, you can see the edge of the house is 12.6 feet from the lot line. And it
Yep.
looks like the pool lines up with the edge of the house.
Right.
So,
And then that rear lot line, what's behind that is the railroad property.
yeah, it's a really interesting situation. I don't know how many of you are familiar with the subdivision, the Rawlings subdivision over off of Clover Street. But they have a lot of private alleyways. Some that are developed and some that are not developed. And what backs up to this particular property is an undeveloped alley. These alleys aren't owned by anybody. So the neighbors the property owners who back up to the undeveloped alleys basically look at that as their backyard. And that alley will never be developed. So in all intents purposes, that's the rear yard. The only problem here is you can't build over a lot line. So they're trying to tuck it as close to that lot line as possible, even though they have additional yardage behind that. And then of course you got the railroad behind that.
Okay,
Okay, thanks.
good. Okay, other questions by board members?
This is member Wright. Do you know, I apologize, I wasn't able to get back to this property. Is that shed that's shown on the survey still there?
Yes, there are sheds in every single yard on my block that I think have been here for decades.
Okay.
All
We
right,
did,
And then,
yeah, we did not install it, so I'm sorry.
okay.
no problem.
No, and I'm assuming that when this pool drains, it'll be drained so as not to overload the rear neighbor with water unexpectedly.
Absolutely. In fact, what you see the dotted line on this survey, when I bought my home 13 years ago, the previous owner must have just put up a pool himself. There was a pool on this property when I bought it, which I offered up for free, and somebody came and took it down that same day that I moved in, and we drained the pool at that time, and it didn't cause any problems whatsoever. So I know I know it can be done.
All right, that's good. Okay, other questions by the board? Okay, looks like we're good. Thank you very much, Mary.
Thank you.
Okay, so is there anyone in the audience that would like to, the audience, oh boy. Anyone on the Zoom call that would like to speak regarding this application? Okay, there being none, then the public hearing is closed.
Just for the members in the audience, there is application 3A0321, which is for 129 Ambassador, has been postponed by the applicant. So we will go on to application 3A0421, application of Jack Segrest, architect, and Mike and Kim Malin, owners of property located at 20 Buckland Avenue, for an area variance in section 205-2 to allow building addition to extend 8 feet into the 40-foot rear setback required by code. All described in the application and plans on file.
Okay,
How are you?
good. What's going on?
We have a client on Buckland.
Jack, could you just
Hold on one second. Hold on.
state your name and address for the
I'm
record?
sorry. Jack Segrist, 99 Shoreham Drive in Brighton. I'm the architect of the project.
Thank you.
Go right ahead.
Start my video. We have a client that's getting older. The couple is getting older. They're looking to, in the next few years, move down to the first floor. Because right now they're over the garage and their suite. So what they're trying to do is take half of, there's a den on the south side of the house, and they want to put a 13 by 18 addition on that den just so they can have more space for the master suite. Master suite will have to accommodate handicap accessibility at one point. They have additional furniture. They have to get a wheelchair around there. They also have additional closets. We've looked at other locations and none of them make sense. They have to either take up a larger space of construction or they go through spaces that don't make any sense. This is right off the foyer. And it works well for them. It also goes to the aging in place, which everybody in Brighton is trying to encourage. So they don't have to move out of the town. And that's it, I guess. If you have any questions, let me know.
I do. This is Member Dale. I was just wondering if there
Okay.
had been thought to putting the addition where the existing patio is, sort of behind the garage, so that it wouldn't require a variance and also wouldn't be seen from the street.
That would be, I mean, the existing patio is where they get they get the light for their inside of the home for right now. If you put in an addition there, you'd cut that light off. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm. And do you know if the applicant has spoken to the neighbors on that side where the addition would be placed?
I invited him tonight, but I would have to ask him. I don't know, honestly.
Okay.
Just one more question. There's a pretty large pine tree
Yes.
Would that be able to stay? I couldn't tell if it would be sort of back further from where the addition would be.
We took that into account and that tree is staying
Okay,
by
thank
the owner's wish.
All right, that's good. Okay, other questions by board members? Okay. All right, Jack, you got off easy, Jack.
By the way, that house or that building on Lockville,
Uh-huh.
that was my building.
All right. Okay. Very fine.
So I wish them luck.
Okay, great. Okay, thanks, Jack.
Thanks.
All right, is there anyone on the call that would like to speak regarding this application? Okay, there being none, then the public hearing is closed. All right, folks, we're rolling. So, everybody okay to proceed? Good?
Yeah.
Okay, great. All right, so we're gonna go over to Lac DeVille. So why don't, we had this last month. We asked for some clarification, which I think was helpful. So why don't we kind of go around and see what everyone's thoughts are here? How about Ms. Wright?
Yeah, I'm certainly more okay with it now after hearing how their practice runs and confirming that this wouldn't be a practice that is likely to expand and put a higher parking count. I don't know what restrictions we're going to be able to write into the approval that prevent this from becoming a different type of use with a significantly higher parking count. And I don't know if that's two physicians, no more than two physicians working on this first floor in order to approve this variance, or if it's a specific type of use, like the ENT use, but that's my thought on it.
Okay, so generally you're saying with the right conditions that you would be all right with this?
Yes, absolutely.
Okay,
I don't know what meaningful restrictions we can put in that can
Okay.
be enforced.
well, why don't we hear what everyone has to say and then we can discuss the various options about that. Okay, so Jean, what do you think? Any?
Yeah, I think the additional, presentation and information was definitely helpful. So I'm okay with it.
Okay. All right, Kathy, how about you?
I'm with the same with Jeannie and Andrea, that is, as long as we can put some type of conditions that this won't be expanded to a different type of practice that would have people being seen every 15 minutes or the equivalent, that I'm okay.
Okay. All right. And how about Ed?
Yeah, I'm generally all right with this. I guess one of my thoughts is the options, if we deny this, are that they have to get another variance anyways,
Correct.
or that they go through a whole nother process of land banking, which it doesn't seem to be make much sense. I don't know if we need to think about conditions concerning the tenants. I guess it's just not their practice. It might change, but is it possible there could be a tenant that's going to change the whole parking situation? I mean, I guess I can't think of that off the top of my head, but I wonder if that's something we should be concerned about.
Okay. How about Judy?
I'm okay with it. I really echo what people have said. And my concern would be the use at some point of the lower level. I mean, there's some practices that would really have several people in and a fast turnaround. But if the right conditions are put in, I feel comfortable with it.
All right. And Jen?
Yeah, I'm totally comfortable with it. I think the alternative variances that they'd need to request to install the parking are actually more obtrusive than this variance would be, especially given the evidence that they presented about their business practices and knowing that the downstairs, the calculation is already for the highest number of parking spaces possible with that medical use. So I really do think that it'll be fine.
Okay. All right, so it sounds like everyone's kind of in the same plane here. And I guess the couple options, I know Rick can shed a little light here, but it puts the onus obviously on the building department to try to regulate in some fashion what goes on that first floor. Because I think in the basement, two things could happen. One is, as we discussed in the hearing, is that, if it were to go to professional use of some kind, then obviously the requirement is lower. So it gives us more space, as it relates to the parking. Or the other scenario is, as we discussed last month, and they said again today, it meets for medical, but as we all know, there are some medical practices that, even though our code is probably near the top of the line as far as parking is concerned for medical, that there are things that use even more. And obviously we wouldn't have the option to know that until they lease the space. As Ed pointed out, there's always this option to, put them in a position of land banking. And then the last thing probably is that, if we were to deny this application, right, that they would have the option then to continue trying to lease the ground floor. And then if it was professional space, there'd be no issue, right? And then if there was a specific medical use, then we'd have to look at it, or the worst case, then they would have to add the parking. So there's a bunch of options here. I don't know, Rick, maybe you could shed a little light on what your thoughts are.
Yeah, the only thing I would say, Dennis, is that I can't guarantee you what the numbers would calculate out to if the lower level was just professional office, and the upper level was medical. There still could be, variance needed for the upper level at that point in time being medical. I don't know. I don't have those numbers right in front of me, so it's hard to speculate on that.
Okay.
But I believe that if we craft some conditions, I know it puts a burden on the department, but we've done it before where we have tied uses into the existing tenant. And if that tenant leaves, then we just have to be the ability to bring them back and say, hey, you got to go back to the zoning board and we have to review this new tenant proposal under the original zoning variance.
Right. Yeah, because I think it's pretty difficult. We could identify the uses and the tenants depicted. However, if they happen to add one more person, 2 years from now, it's going to be pretty impossible for us to figure that out. Okay, so I don't think we can do it. And I don't think we've ever done it, Rick, on number of doctors or things like that. I think we've talked about the floor plan as depicted and the testimony that was given as it relates to this very specific practice. So if the practice was to be sold and a new practice came in, that in essence, that would trigger some action.
Yeah.
Would you agree?
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean,
Right,
and that's
so-
something too, that it could be a new practice and they could come to me and say, hey, we're running it exactly the way it was run before. And maybe staff can have a little bit of flexibility and say, yeah, if you're doing that, then you're meeting the intent of the original variance. But if they bring in a pediatrician, then we say, oh no, wait a minute, you're going back to the zoning board and you got to prove your case all over again with this pediatrician activity here.
Okay. Okay. So does anybody object to that sort of line of thinking then? Is there any, because it's mine to do, so we'll take a shot at it here if everyone is generally in agreement with this approach. Okay.
This is yours, Dennis, correct?
Yes.
Okay, do you have the seeker statement that you can state?
Oh, no, actually I don't have it with me where I am right now, so. Could you just read it and I'll echo it?
Sure.
Thank you.
So you make your motion.
Okay, and then we'll do it at the end. Okay. All right, so
Oh,
I
wait,
move.
wait a minute. No, wait a minute. Let me start this and just say, the board, having considered the information presented by the applicant and having completed the required review pursuant to seeker, the board determines that the proposed project would not likely have a significant impact, would not likely have a significant environmental impact, and has made the following decision.
Okay, and I'll make that as part of the motion, the first part of the motion. Okay. All right, so we'll move to approve application 2A221 based on the following findings of fact. The current requirement for tenancy in place along with the vacant or proposed to be in place, along with the vacant medical space on the lower level, produces a parking requirement of 40 spaces where 45 spaces exist on the current site. 2, the variance is based on the uses depicted in the drawings that were submitted specifically for the first floor as of 3/3/21. And 3, no negative effect on the character of the neighborhood will likely result from the approval of this variance. Conditions: 1, the variance is applicable to the tenants depicted on the first floor as described in testimony as to use and configuration of the space noted on the drawings. And 2, no, let's see here. There's not really any permitting required here, is there, Rick?
There's building permits.
Yeah,
required.
just a standard building permit. Okay, so then all building permits shall be obtained. Now, the only other thing is, do we need to put a trigger in there as to what they would need to do if something was to change? Or is this good enough?
Yeah, I think it'd be smart to add
The trigger?
a condition that, well, we're kind of saying it in the first one, but
Well, we could say,
we could just say any change in first floor tenancy shall require further town review and approval.
okay, that's fine.
That might be just an administrative review, or that
Sure.
might be, hey, you got to go back to the zoning.
Yeah, you might agree that it's fine and it's very similar and it's not going to produce, plus we have a little bit of slack in this parking the way it's proposed anyway, so. Okay, that would be fine. Let's just add that as number 3 then, or number 2. Oh, it'd be number
Number
3.
three.
2 is
Number
the
3.
permit and 3. Okay. I think that should do it. Can we get a second to that?
I'll second it.
Thanks, Ed.
Hang on one
Dennis, this is Ken. Just
Yes.
just a comment on that condition. So the trigger's fine, the condition sounded fine to me. As I understand it, what you said is that the layout and use of that first floor space needs to remain the same in order for this variance to continue into effect. So adding the trigger of any change in tenancy requires further town review, fine. But, and maybe this is more for you, Rick, if the review shows that there's a change in the use or configuration of that first floor space, you cannot use your discretion in making that determination to approve it or not approve it. It's got to come back to the zoning board. They're the only ones
Right.
that can exercise that discretion.
Right, based on that number 1, and that, talking about that, I mean, if they come in and decide after 2 years that, hey, you know what, we need to blow out a wall here. We need to put a different type of exam room in, it triggers a building permit. Does that trigger number 1 condition here? But they can't do that.
Right, because it's how the space is configured.
Right, yeah.
Okay, I thought it was well thought out, Dennis. So I think it'll
No
work.
problem. No, I appreciate your comment. No
Yeah, I
problem.
just want to make sure that we're on the same page, that this is something, if there is a change in configuration, it's coming back to you guys.
Right.
The other thing I just wanted to comment on is, I know that you caught it, but I want to make sure the record's clear. So this is now an application by Lakeside LDV Properties LLC. So the record should be corrected to show that. The application should be amended to show that. We did have the actual owner on. I went on the Monroe County Clerk's site while he was talking to just check. That is the actual owner's name. Lakeside LDV, that's Lawrence David Victor Properties LLC.
Okay. Very fine. Thank you. Okay, Rick, whenever you're ready.
Motion is to approve with conditions. Ms. Schmidt,
Yes.
Ms. Watson,
Yes.
Ms. Dale.
Yes.
I'm sorry to interrupt this. Did we get a second on this?
Yes, that was Ed.
And was that, okay, thank you. Ms. Tompkins, right?
Yes.
Ms. Schwartz,
Yes.
Mr. Primo,
Yes.
and Mr. Mites.
Yes.
Motion to approve with conditions carries.
Okay. So our next application is Grosvenor Road for the garage, the detached garage. So does anyone have any issue with this, or do we need to discuss it? Any issues?
Not for me.
Pardon me?
Sorry, I was saying not for me.
Oh, okay. All right. Yeah, it's a pretty straightforward thing, I think. I think I only saw the one in the neighborhood too, but it's pretty tucked back there, so.
Right, I was gonna say the property lends itself. you know,
Yeah, if you're
Really,
gonna put it anywhere, this is probably a good spot. Okay,
Right.
Judy, go ahead.
Yeah, I just
Okay.
want to make, I just want to make a quick comment that understand that it's a very substantial variance. You know, it's a 50% variance, which is over a 50% variance, which is extremely substantial. So you're gonna have to work that into your findings, I think.
okay,
Why, you know,
Well, let's give it a shot, Judy.
all right, I'll try. I move that we approve application 3A0121 based on the following findings of fact. Number one, the requested variance to allow a detached garage to be 960 square feet in lieu of the 600 square feet permitted by code is substantial. However, it will not change the character of the neighborhood because the garage will not be seen from the street. Also, the property abuts the north elevation of Council Rock Elementary School with a 6-foot high stockade fence running the length of the property line, which greatly reduces the view of the garage. Two,
Judy, just I want to stop you there because the garage can be seen from the road. So
Well-
you might want to just modify that to say the
the
20-foot length
additional
of
part.
garage. The depth of the garage cannot be seen.
Okay, let me see.
Real- I'm sorry, just, does it also make sense to, instead of say that it is substantial, say that it's not substantial in light of the fact, and then talk about the fact that you can't see it and the fact that the, lot is, quite deep compared to its width, like, I struggle with saying that something is substantial because
But
that
that's
statement on its
But I think it is substantial and we have to make a reasoning why this is,
What's mitigating it?
what's mitigating that substantiality? I mean.
Yeah. Yeah, my view on that is it is substantial and I think is Judy is doing to try to show why it should be allowed because the uniqueness of the property
Right, that's
and the
fine.
situation of that property.
Right. I think the key is, and we haven't heard Judy finish, so we need to let her finish. Is to also have something that says that why this is the minimum variance which accomplishes the.
Right. Yeah, let's let her finish
Let her
the.
finish, and I'm sure she's gonna get.
I'm not opposed to a joint venture here.
No. You're gonna finish here.
So Judy, if you just
Everyone's
go
trying to
back-
help you except for Andrea.
Where was I here?
If you could just go back to that number one and where you talk about cannot be seen from the road.
Okay,
Just
okay.
Modify that a little bit.
Right, okay, let me see, hold on. Gee whiz, hold on.
Okay.
Okay. Okay, so, I started to say that, however, it will not change the character of the neighborhood because the depth of the garage will not be seen from the street. Is that what you
That's
wanted,
fine.
Rick?
Yeah, that's fine. I just wanted something because
Yeah,
it can be seen. from the street,
Okay,
so.
All right, so go on.
hold on or go on?
Go on, sorry.
Okay. Then I can leave that part about the property line with the school. We can leave that in.
Yeah, but that's the
Okay.
finding you're making, sure.
That's fine.
Okay. Greatly reduces the view. Okay. 3, the front elevation.
Wait, I don't think we got 2.
I'm sorry, it is 2. I'm starting with 2. I'm all right. 2. And this needs to be clarified. Really, the front elevation, which faces the street, is not going to look any different. I mean, it'll be a little bit wider because it'll be a 2-car door rather than a single car.
Right.
Okay, so I'll leave it, and if you want me to change, we'll go ahead. The front elevation of the proposed garage will look like a conventional two-car garage and resemble the current look of the one-car garage. Okay.
Yeah, that's fine.
3, the proposed garage will eliminate the need for the cars to be parked in the driveway for at least half of the year and then put in storage for the winter. 4, the larger garage will provide a workshop area for the applicant to repair bikes and guitars that he then donates. 5, even with this proposed garage lot cover, even with this proposed garage, lot coverage will be below the maximum 25% allowed by code. Then I go into conditions. Any other?
Yeah, that's okay. Go ahead.
Yes, I'm just kind of going back to Ken's statement there about, did we adequately address minimum relief?
Oh,
You mean as far as why does this meet?
Right, why is this the, minimum relief necessary? for-
okay, so it could be numbers, well, it could be number 6. This variance is the minimum relief required to accommodate 4 vehicles.
The tenant's desire to park 4 vehicles inside?
Okay, yes, inside, right. Thank you.
Yeah, I think that does it.
Okay.
Okay, great.
Condition number 1, this variance only applies to the 960 square foot detached garage and presented in the written application and testimony presented. 2, electricity will be the only utility in the garage. 3, all necessary building and planning approvals must be obtained.
Can I just say all necessary building permits
Yes, must be obtained.
must be obtained?
All right, good. Do we have a second, please?
I'll second it.
Thank you.
Thank you, Dan.
Motion is to approve with conditions. Ms. Watson,
Yes.
Mr. Mites,
Yes.
Ms. Dale,
Yes.
Mr. Primo,
Yes,
Ms. Thompkins Wright,
Yes.
Ms. Schmidt,
Yes.
and Ms. Schwartz.
Yes.
Motion to approve with conditions carries.
Okay. So next we go over to the swimming pool, Cardiff Park. Does anyone have any concerns about this? Kind of a unique situation. But any concerns? All right.
yeah. The only thing I would say is, this is one too where it is a substantial variance, but it isn't substantial given the way the property is configured
Right.
and the reality of the situation.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I think we can say, yes, it's a substantial, but, it only concerns the rear property line
All right.
on this vacant land, yeah.
All right, Andrea, why don't you give it a shot here?
Real quick, I have, it's not overly substantial, given the nature of the property to the rear and the significant area between the rear property line and the actual neighboring railroad track.
Well,
That sounds great to me.
Why don't you go ahead and read it?
And, well, I need to make do I need to do a seeker for this one?
No,
Don't, okay.
no, it's residential.
Okay, I move to approve application 3A-02-21. All is described in the application and plans on file based on the following findings of fact. Number 1, the granting of the requested variance will not produce an undesirable change in the character of the neighborhood or be a detriment to nearby properties. The property located to the rear of the applicant is an undeveloped alleyway and railroad tracks. The proposed placement avoids view of the structure from the street and thus will have little to no impact on residential neighbors. Number 2, the requested variance is not over substantial given the nature of the property to the rear and the significant area between the rear property line and the actual railroad tracks behind it. Number 3, the benefit sought by the applicant cannot reasonably be achieved by any other method or without a variance. Locating the pool in any other area of the yard would create issues with the overhead power lines, require other variances, or create visibility of the pool from the right of way. Number 4, there's no evidence that the proposed variance will have an adverse effect or impact on the physical or environmental conditions in the neighborhood or district. Conditions. Number 1, the variance granted herein applies only to the pool described in and in the location as depicted on the application and in the testimony given. And number 2, all necessary permits must be obtained.
Second.
The motion
Okay.
is
Looks good.
to, the motion is to approve with conditions. Ms. Schmidt,
Yes.
Mr. Mites,
Yes.
Ms. Dale,
Yes.
Ms. Schwartz,
Yes.
Mr. Primo,
Yes.
Ms. Watson,
Yes.
Ms. Tompkins Wright.
Yes.
Motion to approve with conditions carries.
Okay. And then the final application is 20 Buckland for the addition on the first floor. Does anyone have any concerns with this?
No, I'm glad they're saving the tree.
Yeah, it's a big one.
It's a big one, yeah.
Right. Okay. I think, Jeannie's question was very reasonable to see, was there a way to do it? But you can.
Yeah.
Yeah,
see
you guys
the-
understand, here's a perfect example of our corner lot scenario where that yard actually, for all intents purposes, is a side yard. But because the code says it's a rear yard, that's what we have to go by. So if this truly was a side yard, they wouldn't need the variance.
Right.
Like, that's what I was gonna ask. What's the setback required if that was considered a side yard?
It
if this
would
was
be
a
15% of 199, so 15% of 230 feet.
Right. Okay. All right. Well, then let's go ahead, Ms. Dale.
Okay, motion to approve application 3A0421 based on the following findings of fact. Number 1, the applicant is requesting a variance to allow for a 13-foot by 18-foot addition for a first floor suite to allow them to age in place and not have to move to another home. Number 2, the requested variance will not create an undesirable change to the character of the neighborhood, nor be a detriment to nearby properties, as the addition is compatible with the neighborhood and consistent with the side setbacks of other residences. Now, number 3, the benefit sought by the applicant cannot be achieved by some other method feasible for the applicant to pursue other than an area variance. The applicant explored other locations for the proposed addition, but they were not compatible with the function of the existing space. The location proposed takes advantage of an existing space and adds an area for an owner's suite to accommodate aging in place. Number 4, the requested area variance is not substantial as the required setback is 40 feet and the request is for 32 feet, a reduction of 8 feet, and there is no evidence that the proposed variance will have an adverse effect or impact on the physical or environmental conditions in the neighborhood. Number 5, the requested variance is the minimum necessary to accommodate additional closets and potential renovation of the existing bath to accommodate handicap requirements that might be needed in the future. Conditions. The addition will be the size and location as described in the application. And number 2, all necessary building permits shall be obtained.
And I'd just like to add to that, Jeannie, all necessary architecture review board and building permits shall be obtained.
Thank you. Thank you for your help. All necessary building permits and architectural review board approvals shall be obtained.
Okay, do we have a second for this, please?
I'll second. Andrea.
Okay.
The motion is to approve with conditions. Mr. Primo,
Yes.
Ms. Schwartz,
Yes.
Mr. Mites,
Yes.
Ms. Watson,
Yes.
Ms. Schmidt,
Yes.
Ms. Tompkins Wright,
Yes.
and Ms. Dale.
Yes.
Motion to approve with conditions carries.
Okay. So Rick has mentioned to me that it looks like we might have a little heavier load next month, so Plan accordingly.
And just for your knowledge there, the church at Clover Street is revising their plans. They're going to be going back to the planning board in 2 weeks. And then again back to them in April. So we probably won't see their application in front of us till May.
Okay.
So you can prepare yourself for that use variance.
Okay, well, it sounds like they're working with the neighbors and trying to.
Yep, they
Make
are
them
working
concessions
diligently.
and-
They're
right.
working diligently with the neighbors. So hopefully
That's
it
good.
will work out good for everybody involved.
Yes,
And Rick, do we expect that they'll have, the planning board will have finished seeker?
That's what we're hoping for, Ed, yes.
Okay,
Okay, so then we don't have to save those original plans that we got back in December.
Hang on to them until I give you the new ones.
All right,
Okay,
okay.
not over till it's over.
you got it.
all right.
All right. Well, thank you very much, everyone. Have a good night.
Thank
Yeah,
you.
take care, bye-bye.
Rick, are we getting a second set of minutes from January? A third
should
set
be.
of minutes from January?
Half of you got them, half of you didn't get them. So they were mailed out last week.
That's
Unreal.
the second set.
That's the
Right.
second set, right?
Correct.
Okay.
They were mailed out last week, and
So-
some got them, some didn't. So
Right.
if you don't get them, please let me know, and then I'll have to resend to the people who didn't get them.
Right.
Okay?
I have mine. I just wasn't sure if there was a third set coming. Okay.
No, just, you got your second set?
I
Did
did.
you-
Yeah.
You
Okay.
did get it, okay.
All right. You're all set.
Ed didn't get him? Ed, you didn't get him?
I didn't get him.
And Jennifer, you didn't or did?
I got them.
Jennifer got them.
Oh, okay.
And it's a bit odd because like it has commentary in it in what's normally the commentary isn't transcribed.
That is rules of Zoom meetings from our governor, that everything needs to be transcribed.
Oh, I didn't realize that.
Yeah,
I thought
yeah.
we were not approving them because we should be taking those out. Okay, good to know.
No. But you don't
Okay.
really have to read those with a fine tooth comb. Just make sure, again, just go back
Yep.
and make sure the motion and the condition.
Content is correct.
All right?
Yep.
And I'll let you all have a 5th week this month and have fun with it.
Okay, great.
Okay.
All right.
Thanks,
Okay,
Rick.
take
Thank
care.
you.
All right. See you in April. Thank you, everybody.
Take care.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.